I'm a social worker. I do elder abuse prevention, and I'm the scam prevention coordinator, which means that I not only go out in the community and do these presentations so you can all be proactive in protecting yourselves, but also, if you or anybody you know is a victim of identity theft or a scam, I'm actually able to go right to your home and help you untangle that mess. So it's a very unique service, and I'm more than happy to answer questions via the phone, in person, anything that needs to be done. Now, how many here are familiar with Lifespan and their services?
We have seen it before.
Perfect. There is a matrix in your packet with all of the services that we provide at Lifespan. Almost all of our services are free. So why don't we begin by looking at identity theft, fraud, and scams. So what's identity theft? Identity theft is when somebody steals your personal information. Well, what do we mean by stealing your personal information? We need your Social Security number, your Medicare number. Do you know that your Medicare number is your Social Security number? We need to also protect even our mother's maiden name is a big thing that they're trying to get. They're trying to get any little bit of information about you. The statistics, and I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this because there's a copy of the PowerPoint there, but what we are seeing is that identity theft in seniors is increasing every single year. So why do you think seniors are such a target? Yeah, money, absolutely. They're not going to try to scam my 25-year-old twins. They're broke. They're going to try to scam people who have money. Absolutely. And I think you come from a time where you didn't always have to lock your doors. You could trust people. And unfortunately, that is no longer the case. The dollar amount to consumers, the government, is simply staggering. And again, that number goes up every single year. So first we have that financial identity theft. There's several different types of identity theft. So when somebody steals your credit card, or they get your credit card number, and they open credit cards in your name, or they stack up bills on your current credit card. So that's financial identity theft. You might ask, well, how do they do that? How do they get my credit card number? If they don't have my actual card, how do they get my number? Well, there's actually a thing, it's called a skimming machine. And it's no bigger than this. It's actually smaller than this, about this big. And what happens is an identity thief will take your card and slide it through that magnetic reader, and it extracts all of your personal information off of that credit card. Well, how do they get those, and where do they put them? Well, what we're finding is because they're so small, they can actually be attached with two-sided tape to ATMs, to gas machines. This is what it looks like. So here's the card reader at an ATM. This is the little skimming machine. It just simply fits over. I liken it almost to a retainer, how a retainer goes over your teeth. It slits over, and then you slide your card in, and it takes your information. Or say you give your credit card to a waitress, and they have one in their pocket or their hand. Or somebody who works in a big company, because we're always hearing about all of these big organizations, Target, Neiman Marcus, who have their information, mass information stolen. So something like this is put on their machines, or they install some type of a virus on their computer system and it gets your information. So if you ever go to an ATM, first of all, I don't recommend you go to those out-of-the-way spots. But if it ever looks crooked or a little weird to you, go in and tell somebody, don't use it. The other thing you should know is don't use your debit card. There is not the level of protection on debit cards that there are with your credit card. So if somebody steals your credit card information, there's a level of insurance and security there. Somebody takes the money off a debit card, it's gone. Criminal identity theft. So somebody uses your license or your personal information if they're stopped in a road stop, or they are stopped because they were speeding or have a tail light out. So then that criminal record is actually under your name when you weren't even there. So criminal identity theft. Medical identity theft is very rapidly increasing. So what happens is somebody steals that personal information and they go to a hospital in another town and they get medical treatment in your name. So your Medicare is charged. Or they get medical supplies, say a back brace or a knee brace or diabetes supplies, and your Medicare is charged. The really scary and outlandish part of this is they now have their medical information intermingled with your records. So if you find out you've been the victim and you say, gosh, I need to go and get my medical records to make sure they're accurate, you may have great difficulty getting your own medical records because they can't violate the HIPAA rights of that identity thief. So now your medical records are compromised. So that's a pretty scary situation. You know, they almost do. And again, we see that that's going up. Now, how many of you have ever had phone calls or got postcards that you can get those free medical supplies? Has anybody here ever gotten those? So let me ask you a question. What is free in this world?
Nothing.
Nothing. If it sounds too good to be true, it's too good to be true. So please remember that. Your Medicare will be charged. And if you need any kind of supplies, talk to your doctor. There's more and more incidents where people are buying pharmaceuticals online because meds are so expensive. You don't know what you're getting. That can be so dangerous. And again, you're going to get charged for that. So how do we avoid healthcare fraud? Don't just sign blanket authorizations, and that goes for everything. Always check your quarterly medical benefits statement. Make sure you haven't been charged twice for something. Make sure you're not being charged for something, a procedure that you didn't have. All sorts of things. And I can give you an example of that. When I had my kids, they're twins, they made a decimal point mistake to the tune of $20,000. So you need to check those statements. And if you have a question, know that you can ask. I think sometimes we're fearful of questioning. You have every right to question anything on a bill or a statement that doesn't seem accurate. Tax-related identity theft is huge right now because it's been tax season. So a couple of different things. Somebody files a tax return in your name. So you go and you file your taxes, and the IRS says, well, you already got your return. Could take up to 15 months to get your money. Or they may use your grandchildren as dependents, filing them as dependents on taxes. One scam that relates to this is you get a phone call from somebody who's very official and stern, who says, you owe back taxes, sir, and if you don't wire us the money immediately, there will be a warrant put out for your arrest. That one has gone around a lot. They actually called my 99-year-old aunt in Fulton, New York, and scared the daylights out of her. The IRS will never call you. The police will never call you. They'll never threaten you. They're not going to text you. They're not going to email you. So please know that. But that's one of the tactics that scammers use is fear. From 2013, I want to point this one out to you, which criminals impersonating IRS officials was nearly 24 times more than in 2013. And then in 2013, the Federal Trade Commission received 2,545 complaints about IRS imposters. In 2014, that jumped to 54,609.
Wow.
Huge increase. Huge increase. So how to recognize those tax scams? If somebody's promising you this big, huge return, much more than you think you were going to get, or they're telling you that there are changes in the laws and you need to look and click on this PDF on the computer. And let me ask you, how many here use computers? Are you all big computer people? Okay, how about cell phones? Do you have the real fancy ones? So you have a big fancy one. So we'll talk about it more, but you need to really protect yourself because it's just like a mini computer. One of the big things I like to tell people is you have to be very careful about public Wi-Fi. Don't go to Dunkin' Donuts or Tim Hortons to file your taxes online. That is not a secure Wi-Fi. People do that, or any type of personal information in that way. If you're using tax websites, you need to be very careful that you're on a secure, legitimate site. Then there's employment identity theft, where somebody actually gets a job using your information, and then their employment record is now a part of your employment record. And when you don't file that income with the IRS, they say, well, you're withholding money. You're not telling us about that income. So all sorts of different kinds. Now, this is a new and unique one. So, sir, they steal your Social Security number, and ma'am, they know your mother's maiden name, and they actually create a whole new person that does not even exist. And they open up credit cards, and they do all sorts of things with this person who does not exist. But eventually, guess what, sir? It's going to track back to you because it's your Social Security number. So eventually, that will come back to you. So how do we guard our Social Security number? Remember what I said before. You have every right to ask questions. Why do you need my Social Security number? What are you going to use it for? And what gives you the right to have it? And if I'm at the doctor's office, and you're the front desk, and I'm here, and there's somebody right behind me, and they want my Social Security number, I'm going to say, I'm really not comfortable with that. This is not confidential, and you have every right to say that. So what these scammers are doing, and these identity thieves, they're phishing. Phishing, as you see, with a PH. When I showed this to my son, he's like, yeah, you spelled that wrong. It's with a PH. So they're fishing for information. They want to get, again, your date of birth, your Social Security number. And then what they do is as they gather more and more information, the chances of stealing your identity increase. Now, what do you think one of the big ways that people are fishing these days for information? Excuse me?
Telephone calls?
Telephone calls, and they're just asking little questions, and the more you're willing to give, the more they ask, and the more intrusive they get. Also, the computer. These folks are on the computer looking to get information about you. Always make sure you're on a secure site. This pertains to shopping and everything else. My rule of thumb with the computer is, so if I'm going online and I want to look something up, I'm typing in the web address. So I know it's a secure site. There's a sheet that I gave you that's really handy. It shows you how to tell if a site is secure or what the warning signs are if they're not. You should always see HTTPS. S is secure. You should always see a lock. And if you don't, those are some warning signs. But what happens with the computer these days is all of a sudden you're getting these emails or you're getting these pop-up sites that they're reaching out to you for the information. Those I would be very leery of because you don't know those sites are secure or legitimate. What you can do is take your mouse, wave it over the web address. So it may say, JCPenney's. You take the mouse and put it over that, and it may be a completely different site. So again, my rule of thumb is, if I've initiated, if I've made a phone call, or I've gone to a computer site, I can be much more secure than if somebody is calling me, or if they're sending me something via the computer. Because you can't always trust what they're asking you to click, or the pop-ups, or the telephone numbers they're giving you, and you don't know who you're talking to if it's via the phone.
How good is the Kaspersky and all those other secure site, hardware that you put in or software?
You have to check out the anti-spyware. What I would do is almost all computer places have what they call a geek squad. I would inquire with them and say, what is the best protection that I can have for my computer? You need to make sure that you're updating it on a regular basis, that you're renewing it. So really that's really crucial. Not only for the computer, but for those cell phones. Oh, yes, sir.
Back to your mouse. You said put the cursor over if they call you on the computer, put the cursor over the
web address. And it may not be the same. So they say it's, and I'm going to show you a couple.
Where's it going to pop up that's going to look different though?
When you put the mouse on it,
Yeah.
it'll change from, say, JCPenney's to something else. And I'm going to show you a couple of pictures that are really show you how good these folks are and how legitimate these sites look. Yes, sir.
On a laptop, how can you do it? On a laptop, we don't have the mouse. A laptop.
Oh, well, you still have, with a laptop, you still have the little, the little
finger.
doohickey. Yeah, that you can do the little arrow. And that doohickey is my official term. Yes, sir.
Phone numbers they call you, and I usually wait and take a message. And most of the time, there's no message, no nothing. So what now I do is just return calls.
Yeah, so let's actually talk about some of the phone scams. So first of all, it's best to have caller ID, and if you don't recognize the phone number, don't pick it up. They will leave a message. If it's your doctor, if it's your daughter, number one, you're going to know the number. Number two, if you don't have caller ID, they're going to leave a message. Don't respond to those calls that they don't leave a message, because you don't know who or where they are. I'm going to give you a list, and you have it in your PowerPoint, of some area codes to be very leery of.
You can't even call them back.
Excuse me?
You can't even call these people back. You get an ID number, and you let it ring, and then you end the call, and you try to dial that number, and there's nobody.
Right. And what it is they can send out thousands of robocalls. So it takes no effort, no money. And basically what they're doing is they're fishing to see how many people will pick up that phone, and then they start to engage with you. And they ask you those little simple questions. And once you engage with them even a little, there's going to be more and more phone calls, more and more questions, and they are relentless. And they're very good at tricking you into giving information. And then I have people who will call me and say, as soon as I did it, I knew, I should not have done that. But sometimes, again, they're so savvy. But that's what they're doing. They're using a computer to send out these robocalls. But one thing to be careful of now, too, is they actually have the technology to change area codes and telephone numbers. So you may get a call that looks like it's from the local police, and they may even use the name of a local police officer to, again, say there's a warrant out for your arrest, and if you don't pay the fine immediately, you're going to be arrested. A couple of the red flags with any of these scams is if they ask you to send them money, number one, in cash, number two, through Western Union, or number three, with a green dot card. Has anybody heard of green dot cards? Okay, and I'm going to show you a picture of it, and I'll wait for just a minute to explain that further, because I have a really good picture of it. Well, maybe I can jump ahead. Oh, there it is. These are prepaid debit cards. They're completely legal. You can buy them at CVS, Walmart, any place. So what you do is you buy a package of them for $4.95. You walk to the service desk, you put money on that card, and then the scammer says, well, sir, you don't have to worry. You have the card. Just give me the number off the back. And what do you think happens once you give them that number off the back? That money's gone. They can use Green Dot cards for PayPal. They can transfer money through Green Dot, which is why they use them and they're so valuable to them. So again, red flags. Someone wants you to send cash, Western Union, or Green Dot cards. The police cannot help you. There's no way to get those funds back. That money's gone. So be very, very careful of those.
Really? You're talking about scams on computers.
Yeah.
I get flooded with scam emails. I come home one day, I had 30 of them. But when they had 30, there was a legitimate email. Do they have a way of taking a legitimate email message from a group I belong to as an email? I knew the person who was sending it. I knew what the subject was. Do they have a way of putting that into a scam system where a legitimate message will pop up in the scam business?
Oh, it sure could. Sure, they have all sorts of technology to do all sorts of things. And they can actually use those legitimate sites and they copycat them, and they look very, very real.
This was legitimate.
Okay.
I recognized the whole thing. I knew the person who was sending it. And it was only a message on the organization who was talking about it. But I couldn't figure out how it came into a scam email system. Because I wouldn't have opened it, but then on the top.
Well, and I have legitimate things that go to my junk email. Just there must be some type of a red flag in it that it got dumped into junk mail or got put into scam file. So that can happen. So let's talk about some of the things you get through the computer. So you may get a message that says, and this could be a phone call too, or a postcard. You are the grand winner in a lottery and or a sweepstakes. Number one, you're not going to win a lottery or sweepstakes you didn't play. Number two, the next thing they're going to do is ask you to pay for international fees or taxes up front. You never, ever, ever have to pay money to get money. You never have to pay international fees, and you never have to pay taxes up front. What these scammers are also doing is they're actually sending you checks, and these checks look extremely legitimate. Say for $5,000, and they say, you know, we know you're having trouble coming up with the taxes. We want you to start the good life. So go to the bank, cash this check, keep $1,000 for yourself, and send us the $4,000 to put towards the taxes. And people are doing that. People are doing that. The other thing with the computer is they're asking you to click on links or click on pop-ups. That link, what happens basically is they then install a virus on your computer. So now all of your information is compromised. Your computer has been taken over. And then you email your family and your friends, and guess what you've done? You've spread that virus to everybody you know. And then they send that virus to everybody they know. And there may be even illegal activity going on through your computer and you don't even know it. Utilities, that's a big one in this area. If you're happy with your current utilities, don't change. You will get all of these offers with promotional rates. You'll get better service, much less money. And basically what happens is the minute you sign your name, that promotion is ended. And if you want to switch back, you're charged for switching back. What some of these companies are doing, though, is they're not telling you that the promotion ended. They're not changing your bill for months and months and months. And then they sock you with a $1,200 charge and raise your bill by $150. What happens, what I do with that is I immediately send a complaint to the Attorney General. If they don't respond to me, and they never really do. I make a complaint to the Attorney General. Yes, sir.
Time Warner does that all the time. I used to get a bill like they give you a promotion for $140. Then at the end of the year, all of a sudden it jumps up about $100. I mean, they do it. This is a legitimate company.
And what I found with this is it's your responsibility to call them to keep the promotion going. If you do not call them and they say, well, we sent you a letter, which I don't believe most of the companies do. I think it's probably in the teeny fine print.
That's what it is.
So what I've done with some of my folks is I'm like, you need to put this in your calendar. You need to call this company on such and such a date to renew that promotion. And that's the only way to safeguard it.
When it hurt me,
Oh,
I finally
you bet.
switched to dish.
Yeah, I absolutely, because that is, and is that an actual scam? Is it
Here's a
kind of
reliable
that gray line, a
company.
little bit unethical? Absolutely.
You think it's a reliable company, and they're doing this
Yeah,
crap.
so you have to be, and that's why you have to be proactive and protect yourselves and look at your bills, especially those that pay their bills online. So with your cell phone bill in particular, that's called cramming. What happens is you'll see these little tiny fees, maybe $9, maybe $11, and you're like, gosh, I really don't even know what this is, but you pay it. And then the bill might be a little higher, this charge. You could be paying for horoscopes, ringtones, things that you don't even have. So question that. That is an actual scam, and it's called cramming. Contractors this time of year is huge. If a contractor comes to your house, knocks on your door, and says, oh, geez, your gutters are loose, I can fix those for you at a nominal fee. Or your driveway needs to be paved, and I just happen to have extra asphalt from a job that I did down the road. Would you like me to do this for you? They don't have you sign a contract. They don't give you a proposal. They don't give you a quote. They ask you to pay in either cash or they have you write the check out to their name, not a company. You should always have 3 quotes. You should never, ever, ever pay up front. I'm working with a woman right now who she thought she had co-signed for a loan for Home Depot for work she was having done on her roof. So her thought was she had co-signed for it, and then the guy, of course, never came back. There was no equipment, but it was actually in her name. So she took that loan out for him. He was supposed to do all of this work, was supposed to pay her back, and he's nowhere in sight, and now she's got a $4,000 loan in her name. Yes, sir.
We had a horrible express incident with American Customs.
Okay.
And they were going to charge us double. So we had a real good lawyer and everything else.
Yes. Yeah, Better Business Bureau, Better Contractors Bureau, the Attorney General. I have contacted all of them. Sometimes law enforcement in regards to contractor scams. Before you hire anybody, check them out through the Better Contractors Bureau or the Better Business Bureau. Please be careful. And if they're coming to your door, I would be very, very leery. Yes, sir.
Tell us about Publishers Clearinghouse.
Okay, so Publishers Clearinghouse. So that's very similar to the lottery scams. And what they do, and I've had a couple of people where this has happened, where they get the notification that they're the 3rd place winner. Because if they were the 1st place winner, there'd be the TV cameras and the bells and the whistles. But because they're the 3rd place winner, they want to keep it quiet because they don't want you to get scammed. Can you believe they use scams to scam you? And then again, they start telling you that you need to pay these fees and these taxes. And what they're doing is they're using the Publishers Clearinghouse name. Now, if you're asking me, is Publishers Clearinghouse legitimate? I think they're probably in that gray area. I would never send them money and I would never buy anything from them. That's me. Again, they're that gray, but scammers are using their name. So please know that. Anytime you sign up for, say, magazines or those CDs, I say absolutely don't do that. They tell you you can pay the fee, then if you're unhappy, you can stop at any time you want. You have to jump through so many hoops, and the contract is so obscure, it is not worth it. In this area, I'll get right to you. In this area, you get those postcards that ask you to come for a free dinner, and then they use these incredibly hard tactics for either travel, or we had one in this area for carbon monoxide alarms and fire alarms, and they were quadrupling the price. And what they were doing is making you feel guilty because they gave you a free meal, making you feel guilty because if you don't get this, what if your grandchildren perish in a fire at your house? None of that is legit. It's not worth any free meal. Just isn't worth it. Go out. Yes, sir. You had a question. Oh, I'm sorry. I won't make you wait again. Raise your hand if you're not.
He forgot.
Yes, sir.
At REG&E, we have a lot of people knocking on our door for the last 2 or 3 years.
So that's energy.
Yeah, they've been doing this
Switch.
regularly. Everybody's been calling somebody, and no, they still do it.
Yeah, and you know, what I would do is I would call the company and say, I do not want anybody calling me, I don't want you mailing things to me, and I don't want people at your door.
We've done that.
And I'm sure you have, and frankly, they don't care.
They don't care.
Even with the do not call list, the do not mail list, these people, they ignore it because they don't care. But I would, you know, I'm pretty persistent, so I would say, well, I want to talk to your supervisor. And if I don't get I would note their name, the time of the call, and the next time I would say, I want your supervisor. And I would keep going up because I'm pretty patient.
Well, the neighborhood organization, soon to be Anthony area, it is, and our whole neighborhood has done that.
Yeah, but just, you know, I'm not interested. Don't let them in, don't engage with them. Yes, sir.
I remember.
All right.
All they have to do is go to Barnes and Noble and wait and see all the magazines to buy right there.
Absolutely. If you want a magazine, go buy it. You want a CD, go buy it. Absolutely. Romance scams, and people always laugh at this, but with all the
I got more people waiting to date me than I
you do not know what people are putting online.
Does your wife know it, Jack?
No, I don't tell her about those.
They can put anything on there. They can put any
Keep away from
kind
the
of
computer.
picture. You know, I could put on there that I'm 5'11" with long blonde hair and long lanky legs. Doesn't make it true.
Right.
I can put that I'm rich. And what happens with those romance scams is this person's in California and they immediately fall in love with you and they want to come and see you, but they can't afford the flight. So you send them money for the flight. And then this terrible accident happens and then they need more money for this accident. This is also happens with Nigeria. I've worked with a fellow who actually believes, and he thinks I'm an idiot. He actually believes that a young Nigerian princess is going to come and marry him. So what he believes is that
That was me.
that her father passed away, and in his will it said in order for her to get all of his money, which was millions of dollars, she had to be married to an American. So she, immediately fell in love with this older gentleman. He has sent her so much money, and she's not come, and he's now divorced, which is really, really sad. And he still believes that that's going to happen. It's really, really scary and sad. The grandparent scam. How many of you have heard of that? There's a sheet out
I
there.
had it happen.
Tell us.
My aunt in California said that I was in jail and they wanted to send money. But my aunt's called me. I said, if they say I'm in jail, let me stay there.
We deserve it. Absolutely. So what you do is you get this call supposedly from a grandchild or a relative who's maybe in Canada. They've been arrested. They've been hurt. They sound weird because they hurt their jaw in the accident. They need you to wire money or green dot money immediately. They may know that you're called Nani or Papa. They may know the name of your dog. They may have all sorts of information. How do you think they have personal information to trick you into believing you're their grandson?
That's a good question. How do they do it?
Anybody have a guess?
Whatever information you put on the computer.
Social media. They troll Facebook and Twitter. And you may not have a Facebook site, but I bet you if you have grandkids who are in their 20s, they do, and they put everything. They put what they ate for lunch, when they're taking a shower, that they went to see Papa, and that they played with the dog Muffy, and they troll these sites, and then they trick you into believing, or they say, Grandpa, I'm in trouble, Grandpa. Johnny, is that you? Well, what did you just do? You gave him a name. You gave him the
Her
information.
name is different than mine, and my wife has a Facebook, but I don't have a Facebook. I just don't know how they get that information.
Well, she may post a picture of you. She may talk about you. Anyway, and I could look you up. If you wanted to find out something about me, you could look me up. You could see where I've lived the last 20 years. You'll see who my kids and my husband are. You can go online and get just about anything you want on people.
So if you got on the phone when somebody calls and people show up, that's for everybody, right?
Yeah, it's out there. It's in cyberspace. Absolutely it is. It absolutely is. You know, and again, the kids post videos. They post all sorts of stuff. Charities. We all want to give to charities. You need to be very careful that it's a legitimate charity, number one. Sometimes the bogus charities will piggyback on legitimate charities, use names that are very similar. Number one, the people who are calling you are telemarketers. So they may be getting 60% of the money, or administration might be getting 60% of the money. So you need to check those charities out. You also need to know that they pass your name along. So they'll pass your name to other charities and other fundraisers. So then you're going to get even more calls. Other people who pass your name along are scammers. So they keep a list of people they've scammed with all of your information, and then they sell it to other scammers who will call you maybe a year or two later. They call that lightning strikes twice. One more I want to talk about before we go on. Well, no, two actually. Craigslist and eBay. Be very, very careful. Sometimes, say you're selling a couch for $200, they'll send you a check for $600. And you call them and say, well, why did you send me so much? The couch is only $200. Well, that's okay. Cash the check and send me back the $400. Scam. Or I had a gentleman who paid $250 for hearing aids, which he never received. We have people who say they're going to Florida for the summer, so they need to rent a place in Florida. So they go through eBay, they wire or Green Dot or use Western Union to give the first month's rent and a security. Then they get to Florida and they knock on the door and the person is like, I live here. This is not for rent. Texas? Okay. Yeah. Those you have to be very, very careful. And there's many legitimate ones, but you need to be careful. Excuse me. The other thing I want to point out is it's not just people who are rich that they're scamming. I worked with a gentleman here in Rochester who was on social services, had his benefit card. He would walk to the grocery store and had a whole lot of trouble because his legs were so bad. So one day, a knock on his door, and there were two women who said, we see how difficult it is for you to get to the store and get your groceries. If you want to write us a grocery list and give us your benefit card, we'd be happy to get your groceries for you. He did that, and they held that benefit card for hostage. They basically called him and said, pay us $50 or we're ripping up your card. I don't have $50. Well, we're going to call social services, and you're going to lose all of your benefits because you're not supposed to give that card to anybody. Terrible. This guy was broke, no money. So luckily they were able to get a hold of Lifespan. So let's talk about what are some of the things you do if you've been scammed. So we talked about that. We already and it says condolences in the loss of your loved one. Please join us in a celebration of your friend's life. Click here for more information. You click, they've invaded your computer. This is another one. They use a telephone number. Your Netflix account has been compromised. We've frozen your account. Call this number. It's a fake number. They're going to say, oh, just give us your Netflix information. But they look very real. There was another one recently that used Pizza Hut. Their 50th anniversary, click here for a free pizza. It was a scam. So what do you do if you're a victim? The first thing I would do is call Lifespan, because I can help you through the whole process. But you file a police report. You keep that report on record, because you're going to need it. You're going to need to call everybody and their brother. Your bank, you're going to probably need to close your account and open a new one, get new PINs. You're going to need to close your credit card accounts, have new cards issued, have new PINs issued. I would call everybody and say, my identity may have been compromised. I need to red flag my account. You're going to want to get your free credit report. Now, there's 3 national organizations. They're in the PowerPoint. Equifax, Transperian, and another one that starts with an E. You can get 1 free credit report a year from each of those organizations. So if you stagger that every 4 months, you're getting your credit report. Now that's going to be your first indication that somebody's opened up a credit card in your name. But you can also call them, and if your identity's been compromised, you just need to call one. So I call Equifax and say, my identity's been compromised, I need to red flag my credit report. They'll call the other 2 agencies and red flag the other 2 for you. Very important that you do that. You need to document every single person you've talked to. You need to document the day, the time. You may need to have to fill out an affidavit that states you didn't make the purchases. Sadly, one of the things I see a lot is relatives doing this to other relatives. So say your daughter-in-law lives with you, and she racks up all of these credit card bills, and then she hides the mail. The bad thing with that is often people don't want to press charges. You don't have to, although I would recommend you do, but you don't have to. But what you're going to have to prove is that you did not benefit from the purchases. Because what the credit card companies will say is, well, you live in the home, you must have benefited from that purchase. But we're able to prove that, no, absolutely not. So again, be careful what you download. Be careful of those sudden prompts, those security settings, the antivirus. Make sure that all of those are on your computer. Your IDs, your passwords. Don't use your initials and your date of birth, which I've been guilty of in the past. Don't use the same password for every different technology that you have. They should be uppercase, lowercase, numbers, symbols. They should be unique. Don't put it on a Post-it note and put it on the computer. I mean, you need to make sure that that's secure. Again, with your mobile phones, protect it just like it's a computer. That's really important. This is the information on the credit reports. Equifax was the other one. I knew it started with an E. But all of that information is there for you. These are the area codes that you should be leery of. And again, they're in your packet, so I won't belabor it. I have some resource information there for you. Here's my information. So remember, if you ever have a question, if you've been a victim or know somebody who's been a victim, or if you want me to go and do a talk someplace, just give me a call. We're more than happy to help you. Again, remember the Attorney General's there to help, the Better Business Bureau, the Better Contractors Bureau. And my information is in your packets, plus if you want one of my cards, I'm more than happy to give you a card. So now why don't we just open it up for questions? Oh, well, first, we'll open it up for questions, but I also have, it's not a test, It's an evaluation of the presentation, and I get in trouble if I don't bring these back. So if you would please fill it out, I would greatly appreciate it. I don't need your name. I just...
Also, I wonder how many of these people actually get nailed or get caught, no?
Okay, so the first question is, how did I get interested in this? Just because so many seniors are victimized, and I see how devastating it is. It is a very interesting topic, how very savvy these people are. Getting caught. So the two women who scammed the gentleman with his benefit card, they're going to get caught because they're local women. The police were called, and they're not just scamming one person. But if somebody's in Nigeria or California and they put on a fake address, they're very hard to catch. Now every bank has their own security and fraud unit now, and they try to track down these fake checks because there's lots of fake checks out there. But again, it's very, very difficult. And these folks are very, very smart. I think if they would just get a job, man, they'd be successful. They have some very good computer skills. But this is, I guess, their job. But there are task forces all over. And sometimes I've seen even in the paper where there'll be somebody in Nigeria, but there'll be a local person working with them. So then the local person will keep some of the money and ships the rest to Nigeria. The local people sometimes get caught. The contractors get caught. They get in trouble. So it depends what the scam is. It depends where they are. Yes, sir.
What can you do about gas stations? I'm always worried about a gas station getting gas with my credit card.
Well, and again, that's where they put that skimmer. And again, they just use that two-sided tape. So if it ever looks funny, be very leery and don't use it. But the thing is use your credit card, not your debit card. Always check your statements. But I don't use a debit card.
Is it better to go to gas stations that you think are more trustworthy?
Oh, yes. I wouldn't go to those out-of-the-way ones because they're more like, you don't know. Yeah, you don't always know. But those are just some safeguards. But again, use that credit card. Okay. Did you?
Yeah, well, my wife, I remember the husband, my wife, when he died, she had a beautiful lawyer, and he really sent them a lot of,
Yeah.
And they were given some type of award from the president.
Well, and actually, Warren was saying before, receiving letters to give to all of these political machines. Give local. If you give 1 penny, you are going to be bombarded with so many political letters asking you for money. It's not worth it. Give local. Yes, sir.
One of the things that I've learned and do, one I keep those. That comes in, I check it off, that's my statement.
Ah, very good.
Staple goes to the statement and files on the credit cards are exactly the same way.
Very good.
Macy's is exactly the same way. Penny Lane.
That's a great way.
I have it stapled to it. I had to go back to one of the credit cards that they guys, something wrong there. They did it right.
Good.
I stopped. I canceled that particular credit card.
Good.
So they sent me others. By the way, my tax man had the same problem with the same company,
Oh,
which is Charter One.
isn't that something?
And they sent him, he had MasterCard, they sent him, and they give me Visa card. I've never used those cards.
Okay. Eventually, we'll switch to the chip. Like Canada and some other areas have the chip instead of the magnetic strip that are harder to scam. So, like in Canada, they never touch your card. So, like in restaurants here, they'll take your card, walk away. You don't know what they're doing with that card. And with the cameras on your cell phones, they can be taking a picture of that card so fast. But in Canada, they never touch your card. They bring the machine right out to you. You have to slide it, or tap it if it's the chip, and they never touch your card. Eventually, we'll switch to that, but it's so incredibly expensive. They haven't done that yet.
What can you do with a restaurant that does that, takes your credit card.
There's not really much you can do about it.
I had that done.
Oh, it happens
Yeah.
a lot.
Yeah, they take your card,
Especially
but
when you go to high-end
and
restaurants.
what I would say is again, you check those statements. You know, check those
We
bills.
had this restaurant, cops later found out what caused it. She was copying down the credit card number and passing it on to someone else who was making false cards.
And other things that have happened, like say in a doctor's office, the person who was taking all of the personal information and then gathering it together and selling it to somebody in Florida. Though, I mean, you have to, you can't be too paranoid, but you have to be cautious. So again, this is to give you that information to hopefully be able to protect yourselves, but also that if something happens, you know how to act. And the thing is, you need to act quickly. Don't wait. Even if you've been scammed and you're embarrassed, the longer you wait, the harder it is to untangle things. Yes, sir.
Have you had any complaints about themselves, the insurance company?
Yes, I'm working on one right now. So I have. I think that's probably going to be an issue where the Attorney General has to get involved in an attorney.
All right, because I'm wondering if a person's house was broken into, and the amount of people paying high insurance, they didn't report it. Later they come back, maybe they take the water pipe. Now you're going to report that. And the insurance come in and find out that they had done some work that happened before they got a police report, but they didn't report it to the insurance company. That insurance company says to them, we don't pay because you didn't report the last one.
Yeah, I would maybe consult an elder law attorney just to get some advice. And if you want me to send you that list, just call me and I can email it to you or mail it, whatever. Yes.
Everybody mentions the Attorney General, and it sounds kind of scary. Well, I'm going to go to the Attorney General. But I found them to be very, very, very nice and very...
They are super. And the more complaints they get against a certain company, the more power they have to take action. And they're very, very nice to work
On the other hand, one of the fraud workers there was my wife.
Oh, cool. That's nice. Very good.
They're right next to the War Memorial.
Oh,
And that
The old
red
casket
brick
casket company is.
On the other hand,
Timeshares are another.
yes.
on the other hand, on the other side of the coin, I had a card compromised, and I was amazed at what the bank did for me. I got a call one day from Chase Bank. They asked me if I had ever been to Brooklyn, New York. And I said no, and I said, why are you asking? She said, well, we've got an indication here that someone tried to take $500 and try to get a loan using your number. But she said, we had to ask you that question because we were hoping you would say no. And I said, well, why is that? She said, well, we went back 25 years on your card history, and we could never find where you'd ever been to Brooklyn. So she said, but I said, you actually went back that far? And she said, yeah. She said, well,
Now, did they freeze your card before they called you? Did they freeze your card so that these people couldn't use it?
Yeah, they froze it.
Because I was traveling, I was on vacation, and they said, you know, is this? They called me up and they said, is this transaction in Texas really you? I go, yeah, I'm vacationing in Texas. Well, okay, you can call tomorrow and get it get it unfrozen, but credit card will be frozen.
They did
first.
it.
The other thing I found, I went to Toronto a couple of years ago on a barbershoppers convention,
Yeah.
and I called the bank. Said you were going.
Call them
and
before
I
you
was
leave.
going, and I said I want somebody. I said
Yeah.
I want somebody to know that there's going to be
Yes.
charges made. in
Yes,
Toronto.
that's what I recommend. Call before you leave on vacation.
They
Call them and
accepted
say
it.
you're going.
That's a good, I never.
Yeah.
Every year I go to Florida, do the same thing. Don't run away.
And if you're in Florida, don't take pictures of yourself on the beach and let
I know.
everybody on Facebook know you're in Florida.
My camera's in my pocket.
You make sure you're safety.
Online,
Okay.
you see that.
Because people will do that. They'll post all over that they're out of town, and then you've just told everybody and their brother that your home is not secure. The other thing is banks really know their customers. We get calls from banks, from Western Union, from all over, and if they see, they've had the same customer for 30 years who've done the same banking, and all of a sudden there's a change, or somebody's with them and they're taking out large sums of money, and they're very, very good about calling us. Or if somebody tries to cash a check and they're like, yeah, I don't think this is a real check, and then they start asking questions. So they're very good, and the credit card companies are wonderful to work with, generally. But the thing that's really hard is you have to talk to 15 different people before you actually get the person you need. So it's a long, cumbersome process. Any other questions?
The timeshare thing.
Oh, the timeshare.
People have called me 20 years about a place that I went to.
Yeah, I mean, and just again, don't engage. Just I'm not interested, click. Not interested, click. So, you guys were wonderful. Thank you so much. It was a pleasure. Call if you need anything. Really, anytime. Absolutely. Where's my bag? I'll put some out.
One at a time. We'll get them all there.
It is right there.
Oh, no, I see. Yeah.